All right, let's get right into it. We're here to talk about survival craft and rescue boat operations. Today, we're zeroing in on the absolute bedrock of at-sea safety, the precise, disciplined procedures for a safe launch and a controlled recovery. Because when that alarm goes off, there's no time for second guesses. This is all about building the muscle memory that saves lives.
You know, out at sea, a normal day can turn into chaos in a heartbeat. And in that moment, there is no time to go digging for a manual. This right here is why we train. The competence that's drilled into every single crew member, well, that's the only thing standing between order and total disaster. Your actions, your training, they're what save lives, period.
So here's how we're going to break this all down. We're going to cover 5 key sections. First, we'll start with the why. Why competence is everything. Then, we dive into the nuts and bolts, the pre-launch checks, the launch sequence itself, what to do once you're in the water, and finally, how to bring that craft safely back aboard.
Okay, Section 1. Competence saves lives. So, what's the whole point of this training? It's pretty simple, really. It's to build the skills you need for a rapid, effective response when it really, truly matters. This isn't about just memorizing some steps from a book. It's about making the entire procedure second nature.
I want you to think of this as a chain of survival. It all starts with mastering the procedures. That mastery leads to a rapid response. A rapid, confident response helps control the crisis and keeps panic from setting in. And that control, well, that's what allows you to perform life-saving actions correctly and meet those crucial STCW standards. You see? Every single link in that chain depends on your competence.
On to Section 2, pre-launch checks and briefing. A successful launch doesn't just happen when the craft starts moving. Nope, it begins right here, with meticulous, almost obsessive preparation. Any failure in this phase compromises the entire operation. This is where you set yourself up for success.
Clarity is absolutely everything here. First, everyone needs to know, is this a drill or is this the real deal? That sets the tone. Second, the briefing has to be quick and sharp. You assign the roles, who's coxswain, who's on the painters, who's on the winch, so there is zero confusion. And finally, the big one, the non-negotiable. You personally verify that every single person has their life jacket on and has it on correctly. No exceptions.
And take a good look here. This isn't just about throwing a life jacket on. It's about wearing it correctly. All the straps need to be secured, pulled snug. This is literally the first layer of personal safety, and that launch procedure does not move 1 inch until this is confirmed for everybody.
So once the crew is ready, you turn your attention to the hardware. You got to do a full visual and functional check. Make sure that David is clear, that the release gear is working as it should. Check your painters, the winch, and all the equipment inside the craft itself, from the sea anchor to the paddles. You have to assume nothing and check everything.
Okay, preparation is complete. Now, it's time to execute. This next section is all about the core procedure for launching the craft with a standard davit system. Precision and teamwork, that's the name of the game here. Let's walk through this sequence. First, crew gets to their assigned positions. Then, you get that final confirmation. The craft is secure and ready to go. The davit operator lowers the craft, but nice and slow, very steady, no sudden jerks. Meanwhile, the deck crew is using the painters to control any swinging and keep it stable. And here's the critical part. You do not release those hooks until the craft is fully in the water and supported by the sea.
And when the commands are given, they have to be unmistakable. They're loud, they're clear, and they're standard. Lower the boat means one thing and one thing only. This gets rid of any ambiguity and makes sure the entire team acts as one single unit. Every crew member has to know these commands by heart.
Now notice in these images how active the crew is. You can see from the deck, from above, there's constant engagement and focus. Launching a boat is not some automated push-a-button process. It takes continuous, skilled human hands to maintain control all the way down to the water. The second that craft is stable in the water, those hooks are released. And the coxswain's immediate next job? Get away from the side of the ship. The mother vessel is now a hazard. You've got suction, potential listing, risk of collision. You have to get clear, and you have to do it right away. So that brings us to Section 4, Engines start. The craft is in the water, it's clear of the ship, but you're not out of the woods yet. The next priority is propulsion. You've got to get that engine fired up and start making way. This is critical.
Every designated coxswain has to know this piece of machinery inside and out. And I don't just mean knowing how to push the start button. You need to understand the fuel lines, the starter, the cooling system, everything. This knowledge is what's going to keep you moving when you need it most.
The startup procedure is totally systematic. You always start with a pre-start check. Make sure the switch is off, then open the fuel valve. Engage the starter, and as soon as it fires up, your eyes go straight to the gauges. You're looking for oil pressure and temperature. Let it warm up for a moment while you're checking for any leaks, and only then do you slowly test propulsion.
Okay, so the drill's over, or the emergency is stabilized. Now we have to move to the final phase, a safe recovery. Now you should never, ever underestimate this part of the job. Getting back to the ship can be just as dangerous as launching, sometimes even more so, especially if the seas are rough.
Recovery is basically the launch in reverse, but it demands even more caution. You approach the ship slowly, using painters to hold the craft steady against the hull. The most critical moment is attaching those hooks. You have to get a positive, secure connection before you even think about signaling the winch operator to start that slow, steady hoist. And once it's back on deck, you secure the craft before you release the hooks.
Just look at this. The hoist has to be perfectly controlled. This prevents the craft from swinging around or shock loading the gear. It's a really delicate operation, and it requires some serious coordination between the winch operator up on deck and the crew down in the boat.
And just like with the launch, a clear, unambiguous command is essential. The boat crew needs to visually confirm that those hooks are properly seated and locked in. Then they relay that confirmation up to the deck, hooks on and secure. And that winch operator does not start the hoist until they hear that exact command.
You know, when you boil it all down, the one thing that underpins every single step we've talked about is teamwork. No one person can launch or recover a survival craft by themselves. It takes a coordinated crew with everyone knowing their role, trusting each other, and communicating clearly. That right there is the foundation of a safe operation.
And that really brings us to the final thought. These procedures, they're not just words in a manual. They are life-saving actions. And they demand practice, they demand discipline, and they demand commitment from everyone. So the question is simple, and it's for you. When the call comes for your ship and your crew, will you be ready?